Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to our Wednesday night Symbaroum session, and welcome to what should be the conclusion of the Copper Crown trilogy, which we have been running now for, a long time, many weeks, since basically the beginning of the channel, and it's finally coming to an end. Hooray! Boo! Whatever your emotion might be. Before we go much further, let's bring on our stream manager, John, who's going to say hello.
Hello.
And then through the evening, control the chat, put up pictures, take away pictures, shuffle around cams and all that good stuff, do rules checks, and generally be a very, very good egg. How are you, John?
I was feeling better before I was described as an egg.
Before I called you an egg, yeah. Well, you know,
I think I'm definitely post-egg.
Yeah, we all have. I mean, we all have our burdens to bear, John. So yours is to be called an egg tonight. And that's enough for John. So as he scampers off into the darkness, I'm going to do the usual blurb. We have a number of links down below to our social media, which is usually, but not always, Telling Tales RP, to our YouTube, on which is stored all the VODs of our previous sessions. You can go there and watch Symbaroum from the beginning, and etc., etc. A link to our Patreon. Hey, if you love us, then support us. That's how life should be, right? Yes. We also have another ongoing weekly series at the moment, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, which happens on Tuesday evenings, also at 8 o'clock GMT. And we've just started doing one-offs as well, one-shot story sessions. We started our first this Saturday just gone with the wonderful Alien RPG, also from Fria Ligan, who publish Symbaroum as well. And yeah, went really well. The first, it's been chopped up into episodes, and the first one of those is over on YouTube. But you can also just still watch the stream. It's still on Twitch, right? So if you fancy it, there it is. There it is. I think that's all my blurb done. So without further ado, let's start rolling in the players. As I say, this is the conclusion of the Copper Crown trilogy. The ongoing story of the corruption and malice caused by the relic, the Copper Crown. Now our bold adventurers have arrived at the tomb from whence it came, and they've wrecked it up a bit, but are about to be swamped by the creeping darkness of the area, a malevolent being of pure shadow that, well, isn't very happy with them at all, seemingly, or not happy with things that are alive in general. But to be a bit more specific about what happened in the last session, let's bring on our players. We're starting with Elle this week, who plays Ephenea, our resident barbarian head chopper. Yeah, Elle, how did we start up last week?
By whacking my head off my shelf. But
fumbled
yes,
that roll.
Indeed. So yes, last week we started at the end of the combat from the previous week. We were fighting some kind of sentient, glowing, fiery suits of armor. We were in pretty bad shape to start with. However, we managed to pull through and make a bunch of medicus rolls to heal us. So once our party was all healed up after beating up some armor, we made our way through to what turned out to be some sort of burial chamber, in which we found the headless, I think, was it skeletal remains, or just general corpse?
Kind of mummified more than skeletal, yeah.
Of the owner of the Copper Crown, whose name I've forgotten. I'm just going to call him the Mad King.
The Mad King. I mean, that works. King Hurian Lo Apac.
That one. So yeah, we found him, Sans head. We found a vial. We found the vial water, and we found a room with a bunch of seals on it. Not the arf arf
not
kind.
the arf arf kind. No. But, different kinds of seals. So let's bring on Mike, our second player, who plays Anton, our Theurg of Prios. And Mike, why don't you tell us what happened next? You're on mute.
What a good start. Yeah, this is when things started to go from bad to worse. So when we were in that chamber, Ephenea started to become possessed, which turned out to be by the old king of Hurian Lower Pack himself. And yeah, we had to sort of fight to restrain Ephenea from moving towards this bottle of thick, viscous, dark, light-sucking water that was by his side. And yeah, that was sort of when we were interrupted by other people entering the chamber.
And now I'm muted and talking. Absolutely. And to explain who those people were and, again, what happened next, let's bring on Sam, who plays Ascarai, our resident changeling ranger, which I think I've done every combination of possible fusions of those two words by now. So, yeah, take it away.
Well, yeah, kind of worst possible timing for these guys to show up. I think Anton stumbled away from our fight with Ephenea and just ended up immediately stabbed in the back, literally, by one of these cultists. And as it turned out, it was basically the person we knew as Valmello, the person Anton knew as Odarko, along with a few cultists and one other guy who we couldn't seem to be a kind of co-leader, maybe, but we couldn't work out who he was. And this basically distracted us from Ephenea. Going for this thing. There was a bit of a standoff, and so Ephenea got her hands on the vile water and just started guzzling. I would describe it as
just chugging the horrible,
just necking it. But I feel like that didn't
it,
match up to the one drop at a time.
Yeah,
that happened.
true.
No,
it was like 2 drops, I think she got through. But Ascarai kind of saw this, and without any real better option for taking it away from Ephenea, decided to just shoot this bottle, which probably smashed all the liquid, went all over the place, including over Ephenea, which seems very bad. And then kind of started to take on, not a mind of its own, but began flowing in a kind of concentrated direction. And it went badly.
Yeah, it specifically flowed over the seals over on the door on the right-hand side. Once again, I say stone seals, not seals. And they shattered, and therefore the magical protection that had been cast on the tomb to allow spiritual creatures to enter it was broken. And at that point, I think it's safe to say that bad things happen. So why don't we bring on our final player, Chris, who plays Steo, the cynical, curmudgeonly mercenary and town guard, and to tell us where we left off last week.
Well, at this point, we realized that one of the things that the friendly healing water we got years ago in Jakad's Heart does is remove corruption. So we force-fed some of that to Ephenea, and it was not appreciated by any of the people in the room, specifically not the cultists, who, upon seeing Ephenea make very strange noises and upon seeing the seals break, cheesed it back up the stairs, to be met shortly thereafter with screams and silence as a tide of impossible darkness flowed into the room and wrapped around us, leaving us with the hint of concept that two entities were in the room and were fighting, with us none the wiser. And that's kind of where we left it.
I don't want to naysay you, but I also don't want to leave the impression that there were two entities in the room and they were fighting each other. You definitely had the impression that there was an entity in the room within the darkness, kind of something that exudes the darkness, but like is within it as a kind of core or a kind of being within that. And I believe you'd backed off into the corner and were preparing to sell your lives cheaply.
Yeah, or escape. I'd prefer escape.
Sure, absolutely. So we pick up at exactly that point with this creeping darkness, the being that seemingly has stripped life out of all the forests nearby, desiccated everything, frozen it, and left it grey and dead. But luckily for you, a spider goddess bit all your necks, so you're fine. That might seem like a somewhat offhand explanation of what happened, but it's true. So there you are. You're backed into the corner. I believe I left off last week describing how the only light you had to see by in this flowing, almost like sickly physical darkness is the purple flame given off by Black Gift, Ephenea's blade, and the sort of sunspot sparkling of Antom's. Is it your blessed shield you've got up, or your holy aura?
Holy aura.
Your holy aura that you've got up, yeah. And at this point, this manifestation of darkness in the center of the room that is exuding this horrific, freezing darkness that you can feel it, even though it's not going to kill you. None of you have ever felt colder in your lives. This isn't ice water. This isn't a harsh wind. This goes right through to your bones, to your insides, to the point where you feel like your heart will stop. Because there is no, there's no heat on the molecular level to keep it going. And with that in mind, let's go into combat, shall we?
No.
You all freeze. You're all dead. End of session.
Yeah. Well, luckily for you, obviously, the kind of passive effect of the creeping darkness, where it deals damage just for you being in it, doesn't apply because, of course, you received the kiss of Xanatha, the spider goddess, who has warded you off from this in return for protecting the vile water for her. Oops. Yeah, we can just get going. So it's Ascarai to go first. And what is Ascarai going to do? I'm going to say you're roughly aware of the presence of this thing, right? Of where it is in the room. Because you can kind of perceive like a sort of denseness to the darkness from brief flashes of purple flame and kind of the glinting orange that you see off Anton, which is probably the only way you know where your friends are. What are you going to do?
Well, firstly, I'm fully expecting you to say no to this, but I have to ask, can I use Beast Law to figure out if I have any idea what this might be?
In a sense, and you may be disappointed with the results if you make it. What is the exact rule of Beast Law? What do you roll against?
I think it's cunning.
I would imagine it to be cunning, yeah. Can you give me a cunning roll at -5, please?
Okay. This means that I will need a 5.
I believe in you.
Or lower. I get a 3. So
okay. As I say, you may be disappointed with your success in this. On your various journeys through Davakar, you have heard of secret, most secret, darkest creatures, beings, demigods, from the long gone eons of the world that still dwell in Davakar and its surroundings and occasionally creep out to feed or to pursue their own nightmarish agendas that the likes of mortals cannot possibly comprehend. You suspect this is one of those.
Yeah, does seem like it.
As for the specifics of it and like gaining some knowledge of, it's I think normally Beast Law gives you like weaknesses and stuff like that, right? Well, you know what? I'll give you this. You'd be really surprised if your arrows do a goddamn thing.
Yeah, it seems unlikely. And yet.
And yet.
Am I like within the range, do I think, considering it's the only thing I can see of Antom's aura?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the flashes of purple flame from Black Gift.
I can't think of anything else immediately to do other than to try and shoot this thing. Even suspecting it will do nothing.
I think that's absolutely fair. I think as a gut reaction as well,
Yeah. I'm going to give that a try and just
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, why don't you give me your attack roll then? And it's, you know what? Its defense is actually a +1, but I'm going to modify that for anyone who doesn't have like their own light source, if you see what I mean. And I'm going to knock that down by 2. So I'm going to say that your attack roll is made at a -1. Ephenea and Anton can see it a bit clearer because their light sources are there, right? So yeah, attack at -1, please.
I'll need a 14. I got a 13.
Okay.
Master of rolls.
It's up to you whether you want to roll for damage, whether you want to bother. But you know what? Let's not clutter up with unnecessary rolls. Your arrow, you are very dimly aware because you kind of fire through the thing, and you think you see the arrow kind of penetrate into the harder shadow within this thing, and it's kind of muffling sound in this chamber. You can't really hear anything all that much as well, but you do hear the distinct sound faintly of your arrow shattering on the opposite wall.
Okay.
So unless you've somehow penetrated the very heart of this thing and done grievous damage to it, it doesn't basically it doesn't entirely appear to be physically there.
Okay.
So you suspect that, you know, your arrows, probably not going to hurt this thing.
Fair enough.
Are you going to do anything? Well, you know what? I'll say that your movement action there was your beast law roll, right? I'm kind of trying to figure it out. So now on to Ephenea. So let's ask a question of Ephenea first. I think we did track corruption last week, right?
Yes.
Because you're up to the point where you've got stigmata, right?
Yes.
But you're in darkness, so who knows what that is right now. So, what are you going to do? I'm assuming swinging your big old sword is going to come
essentially,
over the horizon.
So obviously, last session I activated Black Gift's big old flamey flame, and did like seeing the Ascarized arrow did absolutely naff all. I'm going to kind of hope that Black Gift does something because there is magic going on with it.
Yeah.
So,
John has reminded me that it's called stigma, not stigmata, but I mean it's the same thing, isn't it?
I was going to say, am I like
physically manifest? Yeah, not actually stigmata. That wouldn't make much sense, but okay. Well, you know what? You can give me an attack roll, and yours will be on +1 because the thing has a defensive +1 because it's pretty big.
Due to last session and her drinking of things she shouldn't have drunk, her strong is now 17.
That's pretty good. I'm assuming you're also triggering Black Gift's abilities. I guess I should ask that if you hit rather than beforehand. But
I need to get 18. I got 13, so we're good.
It's absolutely fine. So are you activating Black Gift's flame?
Absolutely. Which is it? Was it an extra D4?
It is an extra D4 damage, but also it's before we do that, it's a D4 corruption.
Yes. Excellent.
And all you need to do is tell me when you hit double Ephenea's corruption threshold.
Okay. Right. So does that include permanent and temporary?
It absolutely includes permanent and temporary, yes.
All right. So I was on. Activating Black Gift does the thing. So let's roll a D4 corruption. Did you say?
Correct.
Right. 3. So, I am on 7, and Ephenea's corruption is currently unavailable to me because Dropbox is being a bit of a silly.
That's okay. Let's just let's ignore that for a moment.
Yes.
And let's roll.
I think it's 8. I have a feeling it's 8. But
okay. What her corruption threshold?
Threshold is 8.
Okay.
So, but I will have it.
It's equal to your resolve, I think.
It's equal to my
your
resolve.
Resolute, rather.
Resolute. Which is a 10, perhaps. But I will have a quick. I'll check it once my character sheet becomes available to me.
Sure.
Which, for some reason it's not right now. But yes, so I've done that. I've done my roll. I'm at 7. So shall I do a damage roll now?
Yes, please. Possible, and don't forget that extra D4 from.
Yes. So got a D6, 2 D4s, and a D12. I did 16 damage.
Nice. So, you don't actually do 16 damage. Okay, so what happens is you leap forward. You know, are you kind of bellowing a war cry at this point,
or
are
absolutely.
you more kind of resolved and steely? Well, you're not. You're
no,
berserker,
I am emotional and angry that I almost killed all of my friends.
Sure. So... you leap forward and with a great cry. A cry of the Odeko people. You swing Black Gift through the center mass of this thing, and the purple flames. You can see they flare, and you're carving through the darkness of this thing. A sickly stench washes over you, and a shriek echoes around the chamber. A shriek that comes from something that has no mouth or throat to make noise. The very stones underneath you and around you seem to vibrate. You have hurt it.
Excellent.
Nice.
All right, so I'm gonna call out that I think that Antom's going to be more use than anyone at this point. And
I don't think you can hear each other. Because everything is just the shriek, and before that, the baffling of the noise. I think, you know, I think it's very hard to communicate under these circumstances.
I have my character sheet now, by the way. I've gained access to it. So
your corruption threshold should be on there.
Yes.
Probably at the top, I think.
Yes, my corruption... Oh, balls. My corruption threshold is 5. So,
okay.
Despite my resolute being 10. Maybe it's like your half your resolute then?
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. John, can you just look? Yeah. Can you look up corruption threshold, please, and just make sure we've determined it right? If that's the case, then you have now equaled your corruption threshold, I believe.
I've absolutely equaled it. I was on 7, I think.
So you've gone to 10. But we'll just get a confirmation.
No, I was on 7 with the sorry.
On 7. With that +3 applied to it.
Yeah, with the +3.
Okay.
Apologies.
Don't sound so disappointed.
So John says corruption threshold is indeed half resolute. So we're calculating it right, and now you're on 7 with that 3 you've added for Black Gift. So you've got 3 more, and then you become something else.
Fine. It's fine.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. When you hit your corruption threshold, you start to have effect like stigma. And when you hit twice, yeah, really bad stuff happens. So that could be fun.
In character, do we know this?
No. And obviously
you're
not. You are aware of how much you are corrupted. Like you can feel it. And you feel like the tendrils, the kind of invisible tendrils of Black Gift worming their way through you. The urge to give yourself to the butchery, the kill. But for now, you are still in control of yourself, despite the vile water and the hooks of Black Gift. You are still, for the moment, Ephanea. Steo.
Okay, so this spurned god that is before us, is it blocking the exit to this room?
You cannot see the exit to this room.
And we don't really have a good idea of its dimensions either. So it could be the entire width of the room, or it could be...
It could well be. At the moment, it's fair to say all you are aware of is that you are within this thing.
Great. I don't have any magic at all, of any description. I just want to get out of here, and I want everyone to join.
You do have a fancy new spear.
It's not like, I don't know how enchanted spears talk to their users to inform them of their enchantments.
No, and you do not indeed know whether it has some form of corruption or magic bonded to it, but you have that, and you are probably not aware that Askarai's arrow went, did not work. So,
and it's only the first person in the order of operations that can delay their action. Is that the case?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm not sure. Is there a thing in this about delaying at all, or is it that we just homebrewed it before and said, yeah, that's fine, we can knock an action back?
No, I'm pretty sure there was something about it, but
even if there isn't, I'm happy for us to do it. Anyone, but only on the first turn.
Okay, well,
So
we
John,
are in,
and it is the first turn, so
it is the first turn. I am a confused, tired, wretched old man who has just seen enough money to live comfortably for the rest of his life be taken away from him meters away from success, and now now he faces the death of the only people who he's cared about since his family were killed. I'm going to delay my action because I'm exhausted.
Sure, that's absolutely fine. Can we roll Steo back to the end of the initiative line, please? In that case, it is the creeping darkness that will take action. Ephenea, can you give me a defense roll? Just a flat defense roll, please. No adjustments.
So I believe it's 5 with
with your berserker stuff.
Yeah, with my
absolutely.
berserker. So let's see what happens here. 6.
Nice. In that case, give me that good old armor roll of yours, please, and don't forget your little extra you get for berserker adept.
Armor. My armor is 5. My berserker adept extra roll is 4, so that's 9.
So that's a miss. That's your armor is 9.
No, sorry. Yeah, my armor roll is 9. Yes.
Your armor roll is 9. Well, that's very, very good. So as you've struck at this thing, kind of parts of it seem to come off from the main bulk, if it can be called that, and they on the edge of your vision, on the edge of where you can see from the kind of flashing purple light afforded you by Black Gift, you can see them forming long, thin black needles that come towards you, and you feel as they impact you, you feel cold. Even more than before, like bleeding through your armor and kind of trying to take a hold in your flesh. But you are far too gone to feel it. This thing is the culmination of everything in your life that's tried to kill you, hurt you, crush you down, and underneath that, somewhere inside as well, is a kind of the righteous anger and fury of Hurrian Low APAC. How dare this creature be in your tomb?
Excellent.
No damage.
Oh, thanks, Huri. What a good friend.
Yeah. So, Anton, first things first, I believe, now, here's the question. I believe we have to roll to see if you maintain your holy aura. Is that correct?
Well, it's not very clear on that. It just says that I need to last until a failed resolute test or a break of concentration. But if we're saying that, like, this is my second sort of turn with Holy Aura, then we've sort of missed out on all the healing benefits of.
We have, because
I rolled it successfully at the end of the last section.
I think that's fair. And this thing has been your Holy Aura has been present in this thing now for a short while as well. So you know what? Yeah, let's make that roll next turn. And I think it's fine to do this. So first off, before we do anything, who in the group is in need of healing? Just pop your hands up. So Anton, Steo. So can you roll healing for yourself and Steo first, please, Anton?
1d4. Steo, you get 2, and I get 4. Bugger. I don't really know how that should work, because it's just like an arbitrary way of deciding who gets what dice. Whether Steo should have rolled it for himself, I don't know. But
no, it's fine for the moment. It's absolutely fine. It's just the order you set it in. It's fine. Even within this freezing darkness, Anton, you can feel Prios's light, coming down on you and suffusing you and guarding you against the cold, and your wounds start to knit slightly, and just the pain starts to ebb away. Now, what do you roll? What do you roll against abominations?
Oh yeah, so I roll a D8.
Okay, give me that D8 roll, please.
5.
5. Okay.
Nice.
And that ignores armor.
Yes, that's absolutely fine. This thing doesn't have armor, so it's all good.
I figured, yeah, but
yeah. As probably only F&A, you're flush with this, whatever this is, and Anton, you know the signs of what to look for, but you can see around the edges of the somewhat more solid mass of darkness in this thing, bits of it almost start to singe, like little flares of flame, or like a charcoal burning, start to just flare in the darkness. And Anton, it's safe to say you can feel somehow that this thing is starting to not retreat and not starting to fear exactly, but it is clearly being scorched by the light of Prios. So keep that up. And what are you actually going to do for your action?
Yeah, I think my Blessed Shield is actually sort of expired, because I think a scene ended since we sort of finished the last combat round. So I might try and, like,
sure.
if you're okay with that, I think I'll try and have.
I'm absolutely fine with that. I would say just have a look at your corruption, because I can't remember what it was on.
Yeah, I'm on 3 temporary corruption.
Okay, and what's your corruption threshold? It's probably a lot
7.
higher. 7. Okay. Well, that's fine.
Will I have to re-roll corruption, like, for every resolute test that I pass for Holy Aura, or
no,
it's just like just sort of maintaining that? Yeah.
Okay. Just the initial cast of it is absolutely fine.
Okay, in that case, I'll try and roll against my resolute of 13, and I make it. So I've got my Blessed Shields up as well.
Excellent.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't think we've ever had both of them up at any one point in time, but I'd say that they kind of combine to form almost like like an orb of shimmering light around Anton, from which sort of rays of fiery light intermittently burst, like a sun is surrounding you. Yes, which now I'm going to say that grants enough light for everyone to see and strike at this thing, with surety. And Urfons goes after you, your diminutive goblin companion with the very, very large longsword, who is now alongside Ephanea, sort of performing his combat dance around the thing, flipping, rolling, launching himself through the air, even over the top of it, swiping around in wide arcs with his silvery blade. But obviously, because you can't see him, you just occasionally get a flash of movement from him, of the silver of his sword through the flare of orange and purple light that's coming off from Anton and Ephanea. Is he hurting it? You have no idea. Steo.
I think, buoyed on by there seems to be a turn in the environment now. It seems that this is not insurmountable. There's light in the room. So I'm going to actually engage this thing now and have a stab at it with my posh spear.
Sure. Why don't you give me an attack roll then, please? That's a +1.
Okay. Oh, I should have probably checked what my numbers are. I think it's 13. No, it's not. It's 15. So I have to roll under 16. I have to roll under 17 because of my new spear. I got a 2.
Nice.
Well, technically under 18. 17 or under, right? So your new spear gives you a +1 to your attack roll. Is that because of precise?
Yes, and because of deep impact, I also get +1 damage. So I'm now rolling D10 +1.
Well, before you do that, I told Ascarai not to bother, so I'm going to tell you not to bother. Whatever spear you have, and as delightful it is, it clearly does not contain magical properties.
It was a 7, chat.
It was a 7. But be that as it may. Be that as it may. Yeah, you thrust forward, strong and true, and you don't feel anything as the spear slides through what should be the creature's dark heart. It's as if you're stabbing smoke or mist. And back round to the beginning. Ascarai, what are you going to do? What is there to be done?
Not much. Seeing that I have no real way of hurting this thing that I can think of, I'm probably just going to back up close to Anton, maybe hand on his shoulder for a bit of moral support in all this darkness, and hope that my companions can murder this thing fairly quickly.
Sounds good. Anton, you feel Ascarai's hand falling on your shoulder. Perhaps a sign that if you stand together, this thing can be overcome. And speaking of which, Ephenea.
Hello. Okay, so I'm assuming now I can see definitely that physical weapons are just completely ineffective at this point.
You're close enough that you saw Ascarai's arrow fly through the thing to no effect. You saw Steo's spear pass through and withdraw, and none of them had the effect that both Antom's incantations and your own black gift had on the thing. You definitely hurt it, and it seems that Antom's blessing from his god is doing the same.
Right, so I'm just gonna kind of can people hear it all, do you think? Or
no, it's still the chamber is still reverberating with the shrieks of the thing.
All right, cool. Well, in that case, I'm just going to kind of take a deep breath and just kind of mutter, I hope this works, and swing with my sword and keep black gift.
Swing another time.
Activated.
Sure. Well, we don't have to do that until we find out if you hit or miss.
If I hit, right.
Yep. So make an attack roll at a +1. So that's at a 18 or under for you now, right?
Yeah, I got a 6, so we're good.
Absolutely. Okay. First thing to do, roll that corruption, and I guess hope we don't get a 3 or a 4.
We get a 2.
Ooh, so close. One more turn. So close. Okay, give me that damage roll, please.
Okay. Right.
And don't forget the extra D4 from the Flames of Black.
Oh, believe me, I am not forgetting. I am risking my life for this. Right, D12 and a D6. Okay, this time I do 18 damage.
18 damage.
Yes.
Now.
Nice.
This thing doesn't have armor, but it does mitigate somehow. Now. John, can you take the initiative off the screen, please? So, with another cry at the top of her lungs, Ephenea steps forward, carves down on the thing with her full strength, and the darkness comes apart in the center of the room. It's like a cell of a film strip. You know, when they come apart and there's a sudden blossoming of white light in the center of them. You can see the center of the room again now, and it's rolling back around you. Back over you and into the walls. The darkness is literally retreating into the walls with a kind of a fading shriek, the same as before, but this time sort of fading away until it reaches a soft hum that remains in those walls. I would like at this point, everyone, please, to make a cunning roll. And you know what? I'm going to give Ascarai because of his beast law, a +2 on it. How about that?
Nice.
My cunning dropped down 2 points last session, so
Yes,
I've got to roll a 5.
So if people just let me know if they make it.
I rolled 15, so I absolutely did not.
Absolutely did not, but Steo did. Steo, there is absolutely no way that thing is dead.
Okay.
But it seems to have been driven back. As you kind of, all of you take a gasp, you know, the air seems purer now. It's not filling your lungs with frost. And Ephenea stands at the center of the room, panting, her arms all the way up to her elbows, kind of blackened as if burned, touched by an inky darkness from the creeping darkness creature demigod, or from her infernal blade. You have no idea which. Steo, you kind of glance over the walls as you kind of formulate your notion that it's driven back but not dead. As you do so, you see Earthons also glancing over at the walls, then glancing over at that treasure chamber and says, "I think we should grab something and run."
Let's do it, lads. Don't overburden yourself. Take only what you can carry. Let's do it.
So here's what we're doing with what you can grab from the treasure chamber, okay? I'm going to read out this list of treasures again. One of them's got a little bit of a complication, that lad. And then what we're going to do is we're each going to write down on a piece of paper what we're grabbing from it. And if we both if two of us go for the same thing, we make an opposed quick roll. That person gets it, and the other person gets nothing.
Cruel.
Because they don't have the time.
Cruelty.
So I will now read out the list of stuff. Okay. So we have a warhammer, a large warhammer covered in verdigris. We have a carved wooden box with a bowing dwarf statue on the lid. I will say that is the only thing here. That is big enough. It would require 2 people to carry. We have a throwing axe with a glowing, oozing head. We have a hypnotic green glittering cape. A buckler, that's a small shield engraved with a troll cross. A ritual codex, i.e. kind of ornamented and clasped together book. A silver chest with Symbarian gold coins in. And a practical-looking and somewhat parched leather bag that seems to be full of oddly shaped equipment of some kind. So, if everyone can roll down the one thing they're going for, and I say again, that big wooden box will probably take 2 people. So, if someone picks that, you know what? We'll see what happens. That could be interesting. But you know. Bear that in mind, that's going to take 2 people to get out of here. So, has everyone made their choice?
No.
I have.
Would you like the list again, Sammy?
I've got it. I've got it. I'm just struggling.
It's just choices.
Very mean.
What can you possibly pick? What can you possibly pick?
I've got a choice.
You've got it. Okay. So with that in mind, let's do this one by one, right? And let's go clockwise on this. So Chris, can you hold up your choice, please?
I can't because I did it in Google Docs, but my choice was as much of the coins as I can grab.
You can take the chest. It's full of the coins, but it's like, you know, it's underarmable, certainly.
Okay, yeah.
Gold
Ephenea.
coins.
Gold coins. Askarai.
I knew I'd be fighting Steel for that.
I also did a Google Docs, but I chose the cape.
You chose the cape. Anton.
Codex.
Great. So what happens is, Anton, you dash into the chamber, you grab that ritual codex and kind of hold it tight to your chest. Askarai, you grab the cape, maybe like throw it over your shoulder to get out of there. Ephenea and Steo. So can you basically both give me a quick check, please?
I can indeed. Let's see what my quick is. What is my quick? 13. I rolled a 10. My quick is 13.
My quick is 10. I rolled a 15.
Okay. In that case, Ephenea grabs it before you do. And as she does so, the burial chamber starts to shake. I would venture to say none of you have ever been in an earthquake before. Certainly not while in an underground chamber. But immediately things start collapsing from the roof. And that your underfoot starts rupturing and buckling upwards underneath you.
Run.
Run.
Yeah, Ephenea is going to just kind of take.
I think it's safe to say that Ephenea. Absolutely. You dash out into the chamber, and as you kind of move around and start running, remember there was that kind of colonnade of the passageway with the kind of columns on either side. And as you dash down that, you can see that archway in front of you, the one that had the symbols of the glowing guards on it, is starting to collapse. And you don't think that you'll be able to get through it before it does so. Ephenea
is going. So yeah. She's gonna notice this, and if there's kind of anyone trying to run in front of her, she's literally just going to try and just get throw them out the way, sort of thing, and run towards it. And she's just kind of so it's two columns, you said, and they were
the archway's coming down, but a couple of columns near it are also collapsing inwards, so it's a mess.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot of stuff.
So she's basically gonna try and kind of get her back against one of the kind of columns coming down, and hope that will be enough.
And kind of hold the other one as it comes down,
and hope that'll be
bridging
enough.
Underneath the okay.
She's chucked the chest of steel and just been get this out.
Sure. Give me a strong check at -5, please.
I absolutely will. So 12. That means I got a 14. And I needed a 12. So
okay. Do you want to spend an XP to re-roll that?
Do I have XP? I think I do have XP. Just give me 1 second.
Elle? Oh God.
Oh no!
That's frozen.
You're still there, Elle. Oh, she's back. No, she's gone.
Oh my God. I was literally everyone vanished, and I was like, "What the hell?"
My God.
I was
wait to ramp up the dramatic tension.
Sure.
Someone clip that, for God's sake.
You're lucky as well. I think I only have about 3 or something, but I will absolutely spend an XP to re-roll that.
Can't take much more of this. You're on mute.
I said, okay, let's see what we've got. A 1.
Oh.
There we go. In the moment of need, Ephenea comes through. Ephenea is holding this thing up. A kind of a tortured noise is coming from her throat, and you have but seconds to dive through. Is everyone doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Askarai, you leap through. Anton, you kind of scramble through, clutching, clutch it through. Clutch the codex to your chest and you scramble through. Urfon's is just behind you. Steo, you're the last through there. What are you going to do?
I have my instructions from Effinea. She threw the coins at me. She said, "Get out." I'm not going to be. Jesus God, trolley problem time, lads.
I like to think that's completely like
you don't have to come up with an elaborate action. I'm just kind of getting. Is Steel going to kind of look back as he goes through?
I mean, absolutely. It's whether or not he's going to try and help is the thing. But,
sure.
I don't.
Well, you know what? Do you want to try and help? We'll try and help. Let's do this.
I will try and help. I'm going to put my back in.
You kind of leap through and turn around, and you can see that Effinea is struggling now, kind of on one knee to hold this thing up. And you kind of, you've grabbed the chest of gold coins in one hand, and you wheel back towards her and desperately kind of like throw out your arm to try and pull her out of it. Effinea looks at you and smiles once, softly, and everything collapses. John, can you take Elle off stream, please? You are now all in the chamber where you fought the glowing guards. Ahead of you, as it was before, like nothing has changed apart from the place is coming apart. Over on your right is that the pathway that leads round to the gate that you got through the kind of riddle, the puzzle, the test of the dead king. Ahead of you is another opening that leads to wherever the glowing guards came from. Otherwise, this chamber is empty, apart from one kind of frozen, desiccated corpse that looks like it used to be a cultist, sprawled on the floor.
Only one.
You've got to make your decisions quick here, folks.
I am going for the exit we came in via.
The exit you came in by. Okay, Anton Asker, are you doing similarly?
Yeah, we're sticking together.
Okay, you dash around, and I'm going to say that Earthons is the fastest here, right? He's nimble. He's a very nimble guy, and he's already taken that exit. And as you kind of go down those steps that lead toward the gate, you can see him where the passageway turns ahead, and he kind of scrambles round it and goes, "Ah!" and runs straight back. Going,
okay.
It's closed!
I'll follow his lead. Looks like we're taking the other exit.
Someone closed the gate behind them on their way out. I'm not saying it was Odako.
It was bloody cultist number 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you dash back into the chamber where you fought the glowing guard, and everything is crumbling now, to the point where I'm going to ask each of you to make a quick check, please.
Yes, thank God.
No, I just failed. Needed 7, rolled 8.
Okay. Anyone who does fail, give me an armor roll, please.
I got 3.
3 in total.
Okay. You're both battered by stones falling from above, or like a bit of a ledging around the top of a wall crumbles and just cracks onto your shoulder. Maybe it's adrenaline, or maybe your armor prevented any significant damage, but you don't really feel it right now. So currently, no need to kind of remove any toughness. I'm going to assume now, I mean, one way, evidently the gate is shut. The other way has crumbled and taken Effinea with it. I assume you're going to go for the passageway where the glowing guards came from.
Yeah.
Okay. As you do so, you hear behind you, behind the collapsed pillars and archway that buried Effinea, you hear a rushing noise. One you're very familiar with from when the creeping darkness first came into the tomb.
Flee!
Yeah.
As you flee into this new chamber, one you've never been in before, it is essentially a large, mostly empty stone chamber. Ahead of you, you can see on obviously where a small fight broke out. Okay, there are a number of scattered more pieces of armor of the glowing guards on the floor, and a couple of dead cultists. One of them is still kind of struggling with the one remaining glowing guard, which is providing actually a bit of extra light, welcome light in this chamber. And as you see, the cultist kind of wrestles the thing against the wall and furiously stabs at it until it comes apart and scatters. The bronze pieces of armor scatter along the floor. He takes one look at you, wheels round, and dives into like a huge crack in the wall, which is the only visible exit from this chamber.
We're following.
Yes, he's leading the way.
Okay. You all head on through and kind of squeeze through this crack. It's fairly wide, but at points you kind of have to wrestle your way through it. And in front of you opens up another huge chamber. Along the center of it, there is a huge crevice in the floor, a rift from which a wind blows rhythmically, as if some huge being down there was breathing in and out. Ahead of you, there is a colossal statue of Hurrian Low Apac hoisting a vast toad-like creature over his head with a spear. It registers very briefly to you in that odd clarity you have when you're panicked. That the creature itself isn't even part of the statue. It's a mummified remain of maybe the original creature this legend was based on, maybe another one, but either way, it bears a very strong resemblance to that skeleton of a huge toad in Toad Square in Thistlehold.
I was going to ask.
Looks to be a very similar creature to that. And as you're kind of dashing ahead, the cultist who's ahead of you, he seems to know where he's going. And you see over on the other side of the crevasse, there is a passageway leading off perhaps back to the entrance of the tomb, but there's no real way across this rift for you. The cultist doesn't seem to be bothered by that. He is dashing for another opening, like a sort of almost a cracked cave opening on the far side of the room, and is paying very little attention to anything else but where he's going, which is why he is so easily snared by the long, thorn-covered appendages of the being that roars out from the rift. And all of you remember the warning that Xanatha gave you. There were 3 benighted, abysmal creatures vying for this vile water. And this must be the 3rd. This must be the Thorn Queen. She rears out of the rift, a vast creature of long, writhing, thorn-covered arms. You see a couple of them are more stunted and have odd globe-like growths on them, which as you reel back horrified from this huge creature, kind of snap open into horrific cat-like eyes. There is no sound that this Thorn Queen gives off, only the horrible dry rustling and scraping of her thorned limbs scraping against each other like a saw. She lifts up the cultist, wraps another appendage round him, and shreds him into 4 separate pieces that arc off through the chamber with one final cry. As you all kind of, are you going to try and run past Fangaffa, the Thorn Queen, or are you kind of stumbling to a halt and see, trying to get your bearings and see what you can do to fight this thing?
There's no way past to the alternative exit. The rift is unjumpable, I imagine.
It is absolutely unjumpable. It's about 20 feet wide.
I think I would keep running to the kind of crack that we can see.
Have we been spotted? Like, is there any evidence that like this thorn...
You really have no idea what constitutes awareness for this thing.
It's also made partially of eyes.
I think we try and run past.
Sure.
That's it's
we haven't got Effie
back, and I don't think we want to fight. So
absolutely. I mean, I'm assuming that obviously this isn't happening as a conversation because there is no time for this. But it sounds like the gut feel of the group is you're charging ahead and hoping somehow to make it past this monstrosity that is writhing out of the depths of the rift. As you do so, you do dash forward, and a huge, long, I mean, you call it a tentacle, but I suppose it's more like a malevolent thrashing branch that's, the width of a man's torso slams down onto the ground in front of you, and another one rears up to strike you, comes down and meets a wave of darkness coming out of the crack behind you. The obstacle ahead of you, the appendage, limb, branch of the Thorn Queen, whatever it is, slides off in order to combat it. And as you desperately dash forward, you glance over your shoulders and see the two titanic monstrosities, the Thorn Queen raking shreds of shadow from the creeping darkness enfolding and cracking and freezing her limbs, and the sound of this wretched, huge, monstrous conflict echoes as you dive desperately into the crack in the side of the chamber, into the underworld, and on through the caves as far as you can get. Let's take a moment, because that was a lot. That was a lot. Let's pick up, I'd say, maybe half an hour later, when you've determined that your flight through these unmarked, cracked, cave-like passages is enough to perhaps evade the attention of the two godlike creatures battling behind you. You can still distantly hear their conflict as a rumble through the earth. Erfon's kind of comes to a halt in front of you. He's the one who's been kind of scrambling ahead first, and he just kind of comes to a halt slowly. You're in a kind of like long, crack in the earth, and you realize somehow, Anton, you've held your torch all the way through this. And Erfon's kind of slumps to the side of the passageway and slides down and just kind of gasps for air, gets his canteen out of his belt, slugs back some cool water, and just kind of, his eyes are closed. You're not sure if he's asleep or just,
What did he grab from the tomb? Did he manage to make anything?
Well, that's a good question. You know what? I'm gonna say he grabbed the throwing axe. Let's say that.
Such. Okay, so I'll give him a kind of pat. I'll slow down and catch my breath as well, because probably we've all been running. But I'll give him a pat and go, "You still with us? We need to get out of this cave. Can rest after that."
He kind of nods slightly and says, "I'm not sure it'll be as easy as that." And then he kind of fixes your gaze and says, "There's nothing we could have done, is there?"
I tried.
No.
Nothing we could have done, but there's stuff we can do. If we get out of this hell, those coins can go to the tribe. That at least should pay Weregild.
He kind of nods, and after you all take a kind of a few breaths to calm yourself, gets up and starts kind of moving forward through the cave more cautiously, not running anymore, taking time. You're lucky. Any of you could have, fallen down a crevasse or triggered a rock slide in this desperate run from danger. But it seems, unbelievable as it might seem, you have been lucky. So, an unknown amount of time later, you have decided to, as far as you can, make camp. You're not sure if it is night. You're not sure what time it is at all. All you know is you've all been traveling through this and you're exhausted. You think you've chosen the right passageways, the ones that look like fresher cracks in the earth, because obviously you learn from Xanatha that when the creeping darkness arrived, it ruptured the earth as it roared up from somewhere deep, deep below. And you've just been trying to find these fresh passageways. But now, I mean, you don't know, and you don't know how long you've been down here either. You've done your best to kind of set a small fire. You've got rations. You've got your water. Urfons is sat by the fire, and as you all watch, he has like a tassel down one side of his belt, and he kind of pulls it out. And as you kind of get a closer look at it, you can see that it has a number of knots spaced down it, a dozen, more than a dozen. And as you watch, he kind of takes the end and puts one more knot in the chain and kind of rubs it thoughtfully for a second, and then lets it dangle back down by his side.
This was too much. Clearly. We're lucky any of us survived.
We haven't survived until I can see the sky again. Oh, what would it have been? It was about 3 hours, was it? Do you still have the map? Ask Cry.
Oh, what? How long you've been traveling?
Yeah.
You know what? I would make people roll, but instead I feel it's more appropriate. And I hate to put words in your mouth, so I'll just say the various opinions. Urfons believes you've been traveling for about 12 hours since leaving the tomb. Steo, you think it's 3. Ascarai, how long do you think it's been?
I guess 6.
Anton? You don't need to base this on anything. And you're on mute, by the way.
I don't think that Anton knows how long it's been. I think I'm having a pretty big breakdown with everything that's just happened. The loss of a friend, like having my faith shaken. Just overcome with emotion and not able to really think straight.
Sure.
We could be anywhere, but
look, it's more likely, Arfons, it's more likely you're overestimating the time than. Oh, I don't know, lads.
it doesn't
We can
really
try.
matter, does it?
It doesn't.
We're either
And we
gonna
can get
reconnect
some,
it or we won't. We have to keep going and hope.
or we can get some rest here and attack it tomorrow after trying to sleep this through.
Yeah, although we need a good watch. The cultists could still be down here. Xanatha could be coming for us. Anything.
Urfons kind of shrugs at the suggestion. Like he seems to think he's pretty spot on with the time. And he doesn't kind of argue back. He just says, "Look, I've been down here before. Well, not here, but you know what I mean. Time's a funny thing when you can't see the sun. I'm sure our priest would say the same."
Right.
Yeah, and Anton needs to roll, as John has pointed out in the private chat, Anton needs to roll the corruption for the Blessed Shield, I believe.
So I rolled the corruption for the Blessed Shield, and I rolled 4, which ticked me over to above my corruption threshold. So I went above my temporary corruption threshold by 1. So now I think I have to roll 1d4 for my permanent corruption. Is that right?
Let me just do a lovely double check. So do you roll 1d4 for permanent corruption and then your temporary corruption goes away?
I'm not sure about how the temporary corruption gets removed, but John is saying that is right to roll 1d4 for permanent corruption. So
okay, go ahead. I will get to the actual section of the book. So we haven't used this an awful lot.
I decided to come on because it would take too long to type out.
Sure.
So Anton tripped his corruption threshold in the middle of everything happening.
Sure, yeah.
But the first time you trip it, only the first time, you roll 1d4 for permanent corruption. And then because that scene has now ended, because it's however long later it is, then his temporary corruption will have disappeared, but obviously the permanent corruption stays.
That's fine, and it's only the first time you trip your corruption threshold then that you roll and D4 and gain permanent corruption. Is that what you're saying?
I believe so. It's not said explicitly in the book, but from further reading I've done, it's specified in the Swedish version of the book, and its omission from the English might be a translation error.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you, John. So yeah, give us 1d4, take yourself down to your permanent corruption, and then roll a d4 and add that in permanent corruption.
Sorry, what? Hang on, what?
So take away your temporary, take away your temporary corruption.
Yeah.
And then roll a d4, and your permanent corruption is increased by that, because you already have 1, right? Do you?
Yeah, I rolled... no, I don't have 1.
Of course, because you're a Theurg and you yes, never mind.
Yeah, I rolled a 4, so that's not good.
Woo. Okay, then.
Can I spend an XP to re-roll that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, can I?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, XP to re-roll. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
That's a good.
If you roll the 4 again.
I have rolled the 4 again.
Mike, you are literally cursed.
There we go. So your permanent corruption is now 4. You are going to have to watch your use of your things, young man.
I have.
You do. Ritual to remove permanent corruption.
Ritual, which I can use to remove it, but we're only 1 point at a time.
Absolutely. So I believe this also results in a stigma. And I'm going to say that it's basically your use of Prios's blessings that have done this. And I'm going to say that your skin basically is kind of blistered, as if you've been exposed. You haven't been in the fire, but you've been exposed to it for too long. And yeah, your skin on all over your body is kind of blistered and sore. And everyone who looks at you look really badly sunburnt, essentially. And it's very obvious to everyone around you. And that will, that will go away in an amount of time. We don't have to worry about it. It's going to be there for at least the rest of the session. So that's good. That's good. Is there any more conversation we want to have at this campfire, or shall we move on to your next bit of traveling through the underworld?
I think everyone's a bit shell-shocked.
I think that's fair.
And Steele's kind of like, this is not beyond the realms of what his previous experiences of battle would have been. Maybe the adversaries were different, but the theme was the same.
Yes.
So there's a certain element of my conditioning that's kind of like, a lot of these people I'm with have not been through this, so trying to do what I can to comfort, but probably not doing a very good job.
Your training is kicking in, essentially.
Yeah.
Or training / trauma.
Yeah,
is kicking in. So you spend maybe the night, who knows, camped up in the passageways, and the next morning you move on again. And again, you are traveling for hours through these underground passageways. You really have no idea if you're going in the right direction, or whether you're horribly lost. But a couple of hours after you start to travel, you come to a wide, open cavern, vast to the point where you can't see the ceiling, you can't see the far walls, and ahead of you is a huge underground lake. Along the only way across that you can see is one of the walls that it butts up against has a kind of slight ridge along it that you think maybe you can try and either scramble or kind of carefully walk yourself along. And as all of you kind of walk to the edge of this lake to kind of like peer over it, Erfons just goes, "Watch." And the next time all of you see it, the whole lake is kind of almost eerily still. And as you watch, just a ridge of water, a ripple, a huge ripple moves. And you see a vast, vast pale form just underneath the surface of the water, gently gliding away.
I am very sick and tired of eldritch monsters I want to go home, and I want an ale.
Yes.
I guess we're taking the careful way around.
Let's rope up.
That's a fantastic idea.
Erfon says, in some ways, although if 3 of us go in, it's going to spell an unpleasant end for the 4th.
Yeah, but if one
you
of us
lose your
goes in,
flipping Earthons, then the rest of us will keep you safe.
All right. I have been shamed into the decision, I see. So, yeah, you have the rope. You all tie yourselves to each other and start to make your way across this ridge of stone at one end of this vast, dark underground lake. Are we taking it cautiously or trying to get across as quick as we can?
cautious, please.
Everyone goes cautious. Yep. Okay. Then can everyone make a quick +5 roll, please?
I actually make it. Needed
Same.
a 15, got a 15.
Rolled
Do
a
you all make
2.
it?
Nice.
Okay. All of you very slowly with your hearts in your mouths make your way edging across this stone ledge over to the other side. Erfon's first. He turns around and kind of scans the surface of the lake and then just shrugs.
Let's get out
That
of here.
trademark shrug is going to kill us eventually.
There's a passageway on the other side. You delve into it and head again through the night. Eventually,
I did say that as well. It wasn't a glib out of character comment. I was
Sure.
trying to humor a bit.
you make your way through another crack in the earth. Eventually, you make camp again. You wake up, travel on, and eventually you make camp again.
Uh-oh.
Can everyone give me cunning rolls, please?
Oh, hello, friends.
Nice.
Nice.
I
don't make it. I needed 11. I rolled 15.
made it. I got a 4.
Okay. Anton, you have absolutely no idea where you are in relation to anything on the surface. Ascarai, you have a vague sense that you are lost and that you cannot have been traveling in the right direction. You've traveled for far too long to travel the distance between the Tomb of Dying Dreams and Xanathus Sinkhole. Steo, you are aware of this, and also you're pretty sure where you've gone wrong. And you're pretty sure what direction to pick. And as you enter a large chamber with a number of cracks leading off it, you kind of stand there for a moment pondering, looking around. And maybe it's your imagination or maybe not. But you definitely think the rightmost passageway here, if you've worked out where you are in regards to the world above, that should be the one you should take.
Okay, gentlemen, assuming we've all agreed, at least on some level, that we're lost, and therefore that one direction is as good as the next, will you humor an old man's whim and follow me to the right?
Yeah, certainly going straight can't be right. So
No, right is right. Let's try it.
Happy to follow your
Okay.
leads, dear.
Erfon seems comfortable with it as well. You start moving through that crack in the earth. Before long, you emerge out into a larger chamber. Certainly not as large as the underground lake, but one that is different from a cave you've been in previously. As soon as you enter it, you can smell a sort of a slightly sickly sweet smell, and also just an animal scent. Can everyone give me a vigilant roll, please? And you can take a -1 on it for the darkness here. You do have a torch, but it's still dark.
I make it. Needed 12, rolled 6.
Okay.
Skyball 13 needed a 9.
Okay. Anyone who's made it, you can see a number of things in the darkness. You can see stalagmites. You can see odd kind of contusions in the wall, and ahead of you, you can see what seems to be the remains of a large dead reptile. Feeding on that are what appear to be 6 of the meerkats. You remember them? The hairless, panther-like forest cats that you had to fight off from the Audio Magica outpost. They are feasting on the remains of this huge dead reptile.
So I'll kind of get everyone to kind of move back and get out of sight of these things. Oh, sorry, no, I haven't seen it yet, so apologies.
I think it's safe to say the others can perhaps whisper it to you.
Yeah, so we'll kind of get to a safe location so we can converse in whispered tones.
Perhaps we can sneak around them.
Ascari, are these things normally subterranean? How
I
do they
don't
get in?
You can take a beast law roll if you want.
I suppose I will. I'll try my beast law. Which is, again, cunning. 10. So I need a 10 or less. I got a 12.
Okay. You've got no idea.
I don't come underground, so I don't know if they're normally down here or not.
Right.
They certainly come above ground.
Let's assume that they have to go up again. Is there wisdom in trying to track them?
We either track them or fight them, and fighting them doesn't really give us any new information. So we can wait and watch.
Well,
Fon says, whoa. We don't have to fight them.
We could just
They're eating. They're happy. We can try and sneak past.
I agree. And if we track them, who knows? Maybe they won't go above ground. We just track them for days down here.
Okay. You all did me a solid going right. Let's do Erfon's a solid and try the sneak.
He nods, kind of visibly braces himself and starts creeping ahead of you. Like the dead, like a ghost. So everyone better make some discreet rolls, please. And you know what? Sorry, Anton.
Yeah, can I just roll Blessed Shields first? Because that's how little faith I have in my ability to roll discreet.
I would say that will definitely make it harder to sneak because you have glowing sunspots around you.
Okay, sure. In that case, I'll just roll discreet.
So let's have the order that you're in, please, before people roll discreet. So Erfons has gone first. Who's going next?
Probably me.
Okay, give me a discreet roll at +1, please.
Okay, I'll need a 14. I got a 4.
Who's next?
I would like to go last.
I'll go next then.
So Anton, discreet roll at +2, please.
God. I failed. I needed 12. I rolled 18.
Okay. Steo, discreet roll at +3, please.
Just one small point of order. How much toughness would we have healed during our time below, if any?
That's a very good question. Let's look at healing rates.
I think it's 1 per day, but days are pretty amorphous
as well.
And we're quite stressed. So
yeah, you know what? I'm trying to keep the days amorphous. So until we have toughness to judge, I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, no, that's fine. So you said I have a discreet +4?
+3.
Close. I tried, chat. Oh my god. I still need to roll under 8. I got a 19, which could have been worse.
Okay.
Could have been one worse.
So Erfons and Ascarai, you're past this group of feasting meerkats and sort of moving towards the exit to the cave. Anton and Steo, at the same time, you basically both stumble on like a slightly sheer patch of gravel and kind of like slip over to one side. As you do so, The meerkats on the near side of the feasting on this large reptile whirl round and hiss and spit at you and retreat slightly over it to stand on top of it and sort of paw at it and are just kind of desperately hissing at you to try and drive you off their kill.
I don't want any of whatever it is they're eating.
Yeah, I'm going to sort of very cautiously but as hastily as possible sort of like side away and try and look non-threatening, and yeah, make my way maybe closer to where Fons and Ascarai are.
Okay. You do this successfully, and as it becomes clear you're kind of leaving the cavern, the meerkats turn away one by one and start kind of burying their faces in the mess of organs and flesh in the middle of this creature.
The caves of the close calls. Am I right, gentlemen?
Yeah. Not the sneakiest, but I suppose he got the job done.
The never-ending caves, close calls.
Never-ending caves.
Okay. You carry on traveling forwards. And some time passes. Hours, probably. And eventually... well, you know what? Why don't you all give me a vigilant roll?
Just a failure. 10. I needed 9.
I got it absolutely bang on. Needed 13. Got 13.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, Ascarai and Anton are the first to detect it, and detect it about the same time. And that is a soft, gentle, fresh breeze on your faces. And then as you round a corner in the passageway, you see ahead of you daylight shining on one wall.
Have we made it?
Let's see where we come out. Please, no more disasters. Please, pry us no more disasters.
You emerge into the sudden, blinding flush of full daylight before you realize that even though it's blinding, you are in a shadow. The vast shadow cast by one side of the sinkhole onto the other. You have emerged into Xanatha's sinkhole. You know exactly where you are. And the air has never smelled sweeter, even the dank, earthy aroma of this sinkhole.
Okay, before anyone celebrates, let's celebrate when we get back, secure the boats, and make sure that the lads are okay at the outpost. We're nearly done. We are nearly done. Just give me 3 more hours of this, and we can all drink and sleep. Real sleep and real drink.
We should be quick moving past Xanatha's there.
Should we tell her?
No.
She will know. She will know. I'm going to touch the bite on the back of my neck.
Bites which seem to be kind of starting to heal over now.
Would it not be better to own our feelings? I don't know. Look, I am delirious with fatigue. Let's get up the hill and see where we go.
Yeah. Quickly.
You do so, and kind of make your way. I'm assuming you're going up that path, that slightly vertiginous switchback that was nevertheless a roughly safe way to get yourselves up to the edges of the sinkhole. As you do so, I mean, it leads past Xanatha's cave. So as you're approaching the cave, I mean, what is your approach? Are you going to try and walk past it casually, stealthily, on guard?
Not on guard, but shamefully.
She knows. She must know we're here, but maybe she doesn't know what happened in there, and maybe it's our duty to tell her.
Yeah, you see, that's more. I'm not an honourable man, but I'm a fair man. And that at least sounds like a fair thing to do.
If you want, we can tell her. But to some degree, it was her who led us into this nightmare.
We don't all have to go in. I can go. It feels like it.
Yeah,
we don't have to die together, lads, on some stupid errand of honor.
Oh, we won't die.
We're having this conversation feet from her lair.
From the actual lair.
I think that if she wanted us dead, she would have ensnared us by now.
So, just walking past, kind of on guard and wary.
I think we go inside.
Okay.
That's
sure.
Could I not ask, Rai, at least you and Erfons, would you not consider staying out?
I will not stay out if you're going in. Why? I would rather just leave her. I don't feel we owe her anything. But
okay,
if you want to go in, I will go in with you.
I'm going to let, in that case, if it keeps you alive, I'll stay out and let Anton have the conversation.
I would not like to let any of us go in alone.
Okay, so one goes in, everyone goes in, or none goes in? None of this is logical, lads. We're losing our minds here. Let's, I just want, we've already had one death.
Erfon's voice comes from further up the switchback. I think she's gone.
Well, that solves that problem.
I'm assuming you're following up to where Erfons is. He'd crept away during the conversation and kind of taken a careful look inside the cave.
Yeah, we'll take a peek.
I mean, light is falling in there and seems to be falling in further than it did before, partly because the webs have mostly come apart. The occasional string of them kind of just drifting in the soft wind that comes over the edge of the sinkhole. Occasionally you see a bit of bone, a bit of kind of like cracked apart armor where she's feasted on the remains of those poor orcs and Ordo Magica scouts that she'd found before you arrive. There is no kind of soft, sounds from inside the cave. No, you think before you didn't realize it, but you felt her presence. And there's nothing there now.
Just like the last girl I kissed, didn't stay around more than a week. Okay, I'll take this small blessing. Let's book it.
Yeah.
Okay. You retreat up to the top of the sinkhole. So we can actually pop up the map here, I think, the map of the area, and we can talk about where you're going, I suppose. John's getting it out there for us now.
Clicking frantically. So I suppose the question now is, lads, do we make... Oh, God, it's going to be hours either way.
So essentially,
for the riverbank.
I mean, you could make for the riverbank, or you can make for the Ordo Magica headquarters, where the small goblin tribe had made their home, or you could head straight for that Ordo Magica outpost, where Marla and Plendel, the sole sane survivors of the destruction of the outpost, are presumably there.
Just head to the outpost. That's our goal anyway, right? And it's not too much further from here to go direct to the outpost.
Is there anything we need from the headquarters? I can't think of it.
The less time we spend in the changed tactical environment post the Tomb of Dying Dreams, the better. I wish that goblin triblets all the very best, but I have no desire to tet with them.
Well, I agree.
Okay. In that case, you make your way through the forest, through Davakar to the outpost, and as before, it takes 3 or so hours to make your way, especially fatigued as you are, through to the outpost. And as you're kind of coming up on it, night isn't falling, but the sky is definitely getting kind of slightly darker. You walk up to the outpost, which, as I think we've mentioned before, is a sort of smallish wooden palisaded enclosure with like a large shack, essentially, in the middle of it and a little jetty off it. You enter into that area, and you immediately notice that that's the sort of shed off to one side that had like weapons and armor in is now completely empty.
They ran for it, didn't they?
Couldn't blame them.
That was wise.
What are we investigating first? Are we investigating the large shack that Marla and Plendel were kind of holed up in? The dockside? Where are we looking?
My first concern is the docks. Like, do we have a way out? Have they taken all the boats? Have they left us boats?
Steo, you stride your way through the small enclosure, and before you even get to the beginning of the jetty, you can see there are no boats tied up. No boats.
Fuckers. Fucking Ordo. Fucking Magica.
Anton Ascarai, as Steo is stridden forward to do this, and he's now cursing out loud, are either of you going to investigate the outpost?
Yeah, I'll do like a full search of the sort of exterior grounds and the storeroom. I know that you said there's not much in there, but like, yeah, just wondering if they like stashed a canoe or
looking
two,
for
like,
anything
somewhere else. Yeah,
absolutely. Ascarai, you're going to take a look in that shack.
Yeah,
that they were in. The door is swinging open. You walk in. All there is inside, all that remains really, is obviously the furniture that was in there, a couple of chairs and a table. There's some like driftwood piled up on one side for firewood. And there is a note on the table weighed down by stones.
I will pick up the note and read it.
It is signed by Marla, and it says, "I am sorry. There was no other way. A day or so after the noises underground, the goblin tribe came here and they took one of the canoes for themselves. I had no choice after that. Plendel was unhinged to the point of danger. I am sorry. I think you are likely now in the light of Prios, but on the chance you are still alive, I am so sorry." And it's signed her name.
I will take it outside and hand it to whoever I see first, Steo or Anton. They're gone. Looks like the goblins took one of the boats.
And then they took the other two.
So here you are. In the Audio Magica outpost, you came here to try and save. And perhaps some of your goals are achieved. It seems that maybe the threat of King Curian Loapac and the Copper Crown has gone, or at least diminished. What remains of him is now buried under tons of earth and rock in the Tomb of Dying Dreams. But the three of you that remain, with Urfons as a companion, are now stuck in the middle of Davakar, hundreds of kilometers away from safety. No canoes to take you back along the river. No way back to Thistlehold, but through the forest itself. So ends the Copper Crown trilogy. Bit early. We're about 20 minutes early, but I didn't want to bolt something onto the end because that felt like such a lovely downbeat ending. Didn't it? So thank you very much for watching. Regular viewers will know we do a kind of like questions and comments bit at the end. So please do sling those into the comments, and John will pull them out and pop up here. If you've got any questions about this, about anything to do with the channel, about life, or any comments on it, we really hope you've enjoyed the Copper Crown trilogy. I really hope the players have. And we'll bring Elle back on. Elle will come back on and be here to answer the questions and stuff as well. But before we do that, guys, Chris, Sam, and Mike, you've made it this far through the entire Copper Crown trilogy. Thoughts, fond memories, good stuff, bad stuff.
From our perspective or our characters' perspective?
Both. You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's go around one by one maybe and do that. Does anyone want to go first? Anyone with a big handle on their big old feelings about stuff?
I'll say the first slot, and yeah,
Sure.
I think that Anton's
Let's
having.
roll Elle back in as well. And you know what? Screw it, John. Come on in. You've been as much a part of this as everyone else.
Oh, the whole gang!
The whole gang. So yeah, Mike, you were saying. Sorry.
I think Anton is just like, yeah, massively broken now as a person, like having just sort of been through traumatic experience, which is so far out of his wheelhouse, and yeah, really having his faith in Prios shaken by like the kind of appearance and existence of numerous other deities or demigods that have just crossed his path recently. That being said, like, he has escaped, so maybe, yeah, he does feel slightly like saved and blessed by Prios in that regard. But yeah, pretty broken apart from that. On a personal level, as a player, I really enjoyed that. I was freaking it throughout, but it was, yeah, really great fun to be a part of.
I feel like a good kind of climax to the story kind of came together. I was behind the scenes. I was really worried after last week. I felt I'd botched last week a bit, although the players were perfectly happy with it. But I feel like this session's pulled it back together. I'm far more happy with it. So that's good. Who's next? Who wants to talk about their characters' feelings and their own?
I feel like I don't have any feelings. I'm dead. Question mark.
What are FNA's feelings right now? We don't know. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously. Hilariously, some little, background information is that I almost botched my own leaving this week due to a misreading of some instructions. So that was quite fun.
There was some desperate typing in the private chat.
Like, Matt, am I meant to be doing this?
Basically, I'd say, and this is full Games Master curtain coming
full
off.
Transparency, yeah.
But I basically said, when you hold up the pillars, I'll ask you to make a strong roll. If you don't make it, lie and say you've made it, because otherwise we won't be able to do the ending. Elle thought I said, if you make it, lie and say you haven't.
Oh my god!
So
because
I was like, do you want to spend
Elle
another
Brain
XP?
Because Elle Brain was obviously like, FNA goes to hold up the pillars, and Matt makes me make a strong roll. I fail it, and it all collapses. So I was like, that makes sense. So I was very confused when I was like, no, I didn't make that roll. And Matt was like, do you want to spend an XP? And I was like, do I want to spend an XP? Matt, do I want to spend an XP? So that was a little panicked moment for me, but it all worked out in the end, kind of. Not for FNA.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, this was a bit prearranged, and the reason for that is sadly Elle is bowing out of Symbaroum going forward. But we remember FNA fondly, and hey, maybe there'll be some opportunities for little cameos later down the road. Who knows? Who knows? There's a mystery. What has happened and what will happen? So there we go.
A great death scene, I thought. Saving the party. Heroic.
Saving the money.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting for FNA to be dipping out in a more kind of slain by her compatriots because she has gone batshit insane. So
it was indeed absolutely perfect. Yeah, I did consider that. I did consider it, like that corruption angle. But I don't know. It just felt nice
almost
to have a moment really nice. Of redemption, almost from being possessed by the king and then dying saving her friends.
That.
So
I do have a potential add-on to that as well. It turns out my earlier claim about it totally being different in the Swedish version about corruption may be slightly unsubstantiated, and I may be misremembering it, because Reddit seems to think that every time you go over your boundary, you get the extra 1d4, which means FNA probably would have turned into an abomination by now, but this was a cooler way to go out.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely fine. Like the corruption rule. They're one of the things I like them in theory in Symbaroum, but they're so harsh.
Yeah,
crazy harsh that every time you use a magic item and stuff. And I realize it's kind of meant to be that way, but it does make playing any kind of magic user real difficult. But
and that's why you want your magic users to have a really high resolve.
yes.
But there is like a semi-accepted house rule, which we might talk about between sessions.
Yeah, let's talk about bringing that in. But as I mean, for Antom's purposes as well, as Mike said, Antom's got a ritual that removes permanent corruption. So
true.
I mean, it does involve him burning himself, but other than that, it should all be good.
And I have to spend an XP for that. But.
Yeah, sure. Oof. But still,
also, the double 4 rolls on the permanent.
Oh my god! Could you believe that?
Absolutely brutal.
Classic Anton.
I was whilst I was off screen, I took the opportunity to jump in the bath because I was like, why not? And but I had the stream running to one side of me, and I was just kind of sat there and almost I kind of like slipped from laughing. So when Anton double forward, I was like, yes,
classic double.
This is very classic Anton. I think we have some questions in the comments actually.
We do. We have one in there. We'll flash them up as they happen, and then we'll sprinkle them among the discussion. Any plans to continue Symbaroum in a future stream? There's plans to continue it next week. This is the end of the Copper Crown trilogy, but it is not the end of our story. It's not the end of us following our adventurers. And at the moment, there's no plans to vary from Wednesday Night Symbaroum. Maybe there will be in future. Maybe we'll pepper other campaigns in with it. But at the moment, the plan is we're going forward. We're going to do a little kind of interlude of a couple of stories, and then we're going to pick up with the first volume of Throne of Thorns, which is the big ongoing, huge long campaign that Fria Ligan have published for Symbaroum. The first volume of which I can exclusively reveal, except to anyone who's looked at the book, is called Wrath of the Warden. So Wrath of the Warden will be the name of the next story we're picking up. Yes, good. Well, I'm happy you are happy, McGuffin.
It's a campaign arc that strikes me with a lot more fear now that we've met the Thorn Queen.
Sure. Yeah. I haven't read the book. I don't know if Fangaf has anything to do. I suspect not.
Let's hope not.
But yeah. It certainly feels thematic. We may be bringing another kind of weekly player on board as well. We don't know at the moment. We'll see who we know and stuff, and then we'll see if we get a replacement for Elle or not. It might be a good idea because I think this party probably needs someone to kill the enemies for them.
Balance out Antom's roles.
Yeah, sure. So, Sam, let's have you next. So, what are Askarai's kind of thoughts and feelings on the events, and what is Sam's? What have you enjoyed about this?
I think Askarai is definitely pretty devastated at the loss of Efanea. He hasn't really had a group of people he travels with or does anything with for a long time, and then as soon as he goes and does anything with this new group who he's come to rely on a bit, Efanea just dies at, it's bad. It's very bad. I think he's probably slightly less fearful of being stuck in the forest. He thinks maybe he can find some way maybe to get out, but definitely downbeat about the kind of I feel like Askarai throughout his life has kind of known if you mess with stuff in Davokar, you're gonna get fucked up, and he's kind of veered from that one time, and it's already like brutally cost him and his party, and he's just like, why? Like, I knew better. What am I doing? Like, this was
absolutely. And what about you, Sam? Have you got any personal highlights from the campaign so far, from the Copper Crown?
I think Efanea's death was a definite highlight. In terms of like,
Jesus,
it was a cool scene. I thought, it felt cinematic, and the whole tomb was cool. I liked the whole tomb and the variety of kind of puzzles and enemies and stuff.
It's a nice little module for sure.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the whole. I enjoy the whole setting of Symbaroum a lot, and I feel like it's been a good first experience of kind of the Davokar to me side of that as well. It's been really nice.
Good, good. I don't think we asked you, Mike. Have you got any highlights from Copper Crown?
I think I really enjoyed the kind of like puzzle mystery of how to open the gate, because that was just we were fucking terrible at that until Elle stepped in and saved the day. But it was like a real change of pace and something that we'd not really faced before as a party. So that felt quite exciting. And I actually really enjoyed the bit with is it Zanatha as well? Like our first meeting with her, which was like, I am a bit of an arachnophobe, but that was freaky and spooky and really quite unpleasant, but in a fun way. In a fun way.
How about you, Elle? Any particular highlights? Your death?
Yeah, my death. The part where we accidentally killed a spider goddess that we were going to help. It's fine. No, I'm trying to think. There's like, I think I really enjoyed the I think it was the first story that we did, Jacquard's Hearts.
Jacquard was kind of a little into it after the first story.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I enjoyed that, and the kind of like kind of facing off against the goblins and the big evil lady and
killing her in one blow.
And killing her in one blow. Well, just because it felt again sorry, my dad's putting
it's absolutely fine, don't worry about it.
It's completely derailed my train of thought. But no, again, it felt quite cinematic there because there was just this big like standoff, and there was a big and like everyone. I feel like that was where everyone really started, like as a party, to like kind of come together a bit more,
sort of gel in the group. Yeah.
And of course, who could forget? You know what? My highlights, just any moment with Black Hawk and Antom. But yeah, I also thoroughly I really enjoyed the tomb. And like, because there was a lot of different stuff going on there. We had like puzzles, we had combat, we had nice fun character interaction and death. So it's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So we come finally to Steo and Chris. So Chris, what's Steo's take on all this? And then what are your highlights of the Copper Crown?
I think Steo operates in kind of two modes, kind of battlefield mode and kind of the grumpy old man mode. And he's still on the battlefield because they're in Davokar, they haven't got out, and Steo does not have closure on this yet. He's still desperately out of his element in death, and also in the wrong kind of element, in his PTSD element, but absolutely not in a good space at the minute, and disappointed and angry that he's been betrayed once again by people. And all of the like Efenea's death is probably not going to faze him too much. He did have to kill members of his own family during the death plague, so this is at least something nice happened on the way out.
Yeah, it's like for Steo, it's odd because in some ways I think he was probably the closest of the group to Efenea, but like for him it's just tally, right? It's just, he's seen so many people he cares about die that it's just one more.
It kind of is, but that's also a coping mechanism, and maybe I'll have a nice breakdown in a few sessions about Efenea, because there was a kind of there was a bit of a father-daughter thing there for like what felt like that kind of relationship developing, and certainly a kind of, what's a good way to put it, kind of weird noble savage-esque respect for the barbarians, but probably not for all the right reasons, kind of.
Sure. Something that obviously is proper problematic in the real world, but we don't have concepts like that in Symbaroum. It's just a metaphor for them, and it is as well, as confirmed by the developers on a recent live stream. which we're very happy about because we thought that.
But for
colonialism and things like that.
For me personally, I think I'm still blown away by how delightfully simple and robust the system is. I think it certainly has gaps around its corners where bits kind of fall out and the rules aren't 100% comprehensive for all the situations. But the speed and elegance of how it operates kind of covers over for that. I think my highlight in playing was when I completely called the skin changer thing during Harry Potter and the Missing Skin a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
When
basically Chris just made up a reason why it could happen, and unbeknownst to him, it was spoilering the entire plot of the story. And
but that was an in character, like that was
sure,
this must be this.
And I just through gritted teeth was kind of like, "Are you sure you know that?" Yeah, it's all good. It was all good. A couple of times in this campaign, I will say twice. I'd say you as players have broken my story. And that's not me blaming you at all. It's what players do, right? But usually, and I'm not going to toot my own horn too much, but I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm pretty good at anticipating that and heading off at the pass. But twice in this trilogy, you've done that. One was that one that Chris just said there when he basically, his character, in character, and again, it's zero criticism of Chris, because absolutely, Steo would say that. He would come up with that and he would say that. And just kind of went, I think the murderer is this exact thing that the murderer is. And I was like, oh, God. That and last session, when Ascarai fired an arrow at the bottle containing the vile water and rolled a fucking critical. And I had no choice but to go, oh, God, what's happening?
There's no, in that situation, there was no way out. But I noticed a question, and I want to address it. Someone was saying Steo eating his own words by stealing stuff from the tomb. And, I think if I get to play this character much longer, maybe I'll die of starvation in the forest. His morals are as shiftable as any humans, I think. So if there's easy money, if there's an easy win, and he has not had very many wins over the last few months, if there's an easy win, he's going to take it. So grabbing treasure and grabbing the staff is all in line.
Plus, it was my final, it was FNA's final, wish was grab this and run.
Absolutely.
So...
Sure. I can also see it as Steo, in the safety of Thistlehold, a long way away from Davokar, and being one of the older people of the group, having that kind of words of wisdom that he wants to pass on to people about the dangers of taking things from Davokar, and then he gets in there, and of course, that's a nice spear.
yeah. But the other thing is, throughout this, Steo hadn't really been to Davokar before, so throughout this, there's kind of been a parting of the veil to a large extent. A lot of these evil, unknown Stygian things have been given form, like Spider Goddess Older Than Time, Spooky Dead Man, Dangerous Hat. All of these things are kind of the mystery is going away, and he's starting to see not so much opportunity, but that these things are surmountable rather than unknowable mysteries. So that
never take the danger hat. Just stay clear of the danger hat.
Never take the danger hat.
Never take the danger hat.
Yeah. So as I said earlier on when we wrapped up the session, massive thank yous to everyone for participating in the Copper Crown trilogy, whether it's these four wonderful players or John, our equally wonderful stream manager, or all of you wonderful people for watching it, whether you watched it here on Twitch or over on YouTube where everything is stored in VOD form. Thank you. We will be back next week for more Symbaroum, picking up where we left off and telling some nice interlude stories before we bash our heads against the first installment of Throne of Thorns, which is Wrath of the Warden. Time for some other promo stuff, right? So there's a bunch of links down below. There's all our social media, which is usually Telling Tales RP. There are also links to the YouTube where you can go watch our VODs. There's links to our Patreon where you can support us if you're feeling generous. We also run another weekly series, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, that happens on Tuesday evenings at 8 o'clock GMT here on Twitch. And we're now running one-shots, kind of one-shot little stories I say little, but it ran to over 6 hours. The first one of which was this Saturday just gone, which was Alien, the Alien RPG by Fria Ligan. That's still on Twitch for watching if you like to watch it there, or it's being released in an episodic form over on YouTube. I think that's everything. Is that everything? Tell me that's everything.
The date of our next one-shot?
Oh, yeah, the date of our next one-shot. Why not? An exclusive reveal here. So that will happen on Saturday, the 6th of March, and we'll be playing Troika, the science, fantasy, surreal indie RPG, which I am so excited about. I'm so excited about. It has a class called Monkey Monger. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. There we go. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. Thanks to Elle. May we see her again for cameos. And we'll see you again soon. Take care out there. Stay safe. Farewell. Goodbye.
Never regret, Pappy.
Or Danger Hat.